The first thing the Duke heard after pretending to be unconscious was not a prayer. It was the nursery maid whispering, "Your Grace, please, not the child." Cassian Wycliffe, Duke of Harrowmere, lay perfectly still beneath the heavy counterpane of his own bed, eyes closed, breathing slow, hands loose at his sides. To anyone watching, he looked like a man trapped somewhere between life and death. To his wife, he looked harmless. That was why she spoke so freely. Duchess Vivienne stood near the fire, in a gown of black silk, though no one in Harrowmere House had died yet. The flames shone against the pearls at her throat and turned her pale face almost golden. In one gloved hand, she held a small brown bottle. In the other, a folded document tied with red ribbon. Across from her stood Nell Arden, the nursery maid. She was 23, plain-dressed, brown-haired, and trembling. Not because she feared the Duchess, because behind the closed door at the end of the passage, 7-year-old Oliver Wycliffe was asleep in the nursery, and everything in that room had suddenly become a threat to him. Vivienne held out the bottle. "Give him 3 drops before dawn." Nell did not take it. "What is it?" "Something to keep him quiet." "He is already quiet, Your Grace." "Then, something to keep him agreeable." Nell's fingers closed around her apron. "Master Oliver is a child. He is an heir," Vivienne said. "There is a difference." On the bed, Cassian kept his breathing steady. Every instinct in him demanded movement. To open his eyes. To sit up. To throw the bottle into the fire and order every door locked. But he did none of those things. 3 hours earlier, he had been at supper, perfectly well, perfectly awake, and perfectly suspicious. The collapse had not been accidental. Not entirely. For 3 weeks, strange things had happened in Harrowmere House. Letters from his solicitor had arrived opened. Oliver's tutor had been dismissed without Cassian's permission. A groom loyal to the old household had been accused of theft and sent away. And that afternoon, Cassian had found a draft petition hidden beneath the false bottom of his wife's writing desk. A petition requesting temporary control of the Harrowmere estate on the grounds that the Duke was unwell, unstable, and no longer capable of governing his own household. That alone was dangerous. But beside it was something worse. A second petition concerning Oliver. The boy was described as nervous, disturbed, prone to fits of temper, and unsuitable to remain in the main house without strict supervision. Cassian had read the words twice. His son, his only child, the boy who still placed toy soldiers outside Cassian's study door because he believed they protected him from bad dreams. Disturbed, unsuitable. Strict supervision. Cassian had returned the papers exactly as he found them. Then at supper, when Vivienne insisted he drink the spiced wine she had ordered prepared for the cold, he let the cup touch his lips, but swallowed almost none of it. He had learned enough from old campaigns and older betrayals to know when sweetness hid a blade. Within minutes, he let his hand shake. He let the room blur. He let his body slide from the chair. The servants screamed. Vivienne gave one perfect cry. Dr. Bellamy, already invited to dine for reasons that now seemed less coincidental, declared the Duke overcome by a sudden nervous seizure and ordered him carried upstairs. By midnight, the house believed the Duke unconscious. By 1, his wife had come to his chamber with the nursery maid and a bottle meant for his son. Vivienne's voice sharpened. "Take it." Nell shook her head. "No." The word was tiny. But in that quiet room, it had the force of a gunshot. Vivienne stared at her. "No?" Nell's voice trembled, but she stood where she was. "I will not give Master Oliver anything Dr. Bellamy did not prescribe for him." "Dr. Bellamy knows. Then let him bring it himself." The Duchess smiled. It was a beautiful smile. That made it worse. "You have grown proud because the boy prefers you. He prefers kindness." He prefers being indulged. He misses his mother, Nell said. Vivienne's face hardened. Cassian's chest tightened beneath the blanket. Oliver's mother, Lady Helena, had died when the boy was 4. For 3 years, Cassian had tried to be father and mother both, and failed more often than he admitted. He had married Vivienne because the house needed a duchess, because Oliver needed a woman's steadiness, because everyone said a grieving man should not raise an heir alone. He had mistaken elegance for warmth. Vivienne stepped closer to Nell. The boy will wake tomorrow confused, frightened, perhaps unreasonable. When Mr. Farrow arrives to assess the household situation, he will see what must be done. What must be done? Nell whispered. The child will be removed to Highmere Lodge for his health. Nell went pale. Highmere Lodge stood 12 miles north, a grim stone house used for difficult boys of wealthy families. No one called it a prison because rich people disliked honest names. Please, Nell said, do not send him there. He will be disciplined there. He does not need discipline. He needs his father. Vivienne glanced toward the bed. His father is no longer useful. Cassian felt those words enter him like cold iron. Nell looked at the bottle, then at the Duchess, then at Cassian's still body. Your Grace, please, whatever you want from this house, take it from the adults. Take the keys, take the ledgers, take the rooms, but do not hurt the child. Vivienne's voice dropped. You forget your place. No, Your Grace. I remember it. My place is beside him. You are a maid. I am the one who hears him cry when everyone else says he is sleeping. The room went very still. Nell continued, softer now. He does not cry loudly. He folds his blanket into his mouth so no one hears. He asks whether his father will one day go away like his mother did. He thinks you dislike him because he looks too much like his Grace. He is 7 years old, and he has already learned to apologize before entering rooms. Cassian's hand almost moved. He forced it still. Vivienne's silence was terrible. Then she said, that is exactly why he must be removed. Weakness spreads if allowed to live comfortably. Nell lunged forward. Not at the Duchess. At the bottle. Vivienne lifted it too late. Nell knocked it from her hand. Glass struck the hearthstone and shattered. The liquid spread across the floor with a bitter, medicinal smell. Vivienne drew in a breath. You little fool. Nell backed away, shaking. I will not let you hurt him. The door opened. Dr. Bellamy stepped inside. He was a narrow man with thin lips and hands too smooth for a country physician. His gaze dropped at once to the broken bottle. Vivienne looked at him. The maid has become difficult. Bellamy closed the door behind him. Then remove her. Nell turned toward the door. Bellamy blocked it. Cassian understood then that this was larger than a cruel stepmother. The physician was part of it. The petition. The staged concern. The wine. Oliver's removal. Vivienne needed Cassian silent, Oliver discredited, and herself appointed temporary authority before any loyal servant could reach the family solicitor in London. Nell lifted her chin, though her face had gone white. I will scream. Vivienne laughed softly. And say what? That you broke a bottle and imagined wickedness. His Grace lies senseless. Dr. Bellamy will confirm you are overwrought. By morning you will be dismissed. Nell's eyes went to the bed. For the first time, Cassian risked the smallest movement. One finger. Barely a shift beneath the blanket. Nell saw it. Her breath caught. She looked back at Vivienne before the Duchess noticed. And in that single glance, something passed between the maid and the Duke. A truth. He was awake, and she must not reveal it. Nell lowered her eyes. Then dismiss me in the morning, Your Grace. Vivienne looked satisfied. I shall. Nell curtsied and moved toward the door. Bellamy stepped aside at last. When she left, Vivienne turned toward Cassian's bed. She came so close he could smell her perfume, violets and cold powder. "Sleep well, husband," she whispered. "By the time you wake, if you ever do, the house will already have learned to obey me." Cassian remained still. Only when the door closed did he allow his hand to close beneath the blanket. Not in fear, in promise. He had pretended to be unconscious to expose a plot against him. Now he understood the real target had never been the Duke. It was the child with his eyes, sleeping alone down the hall. Nell did not go to the servants' hall. She went straight to the nursery. The corridor was dark except for one low lamp near the stairs. The house had gone into that strange hush that follows disaster in grand families, when servants move quietly, relatives whisper loudly, and everyone pretends the walls are not listening. Nell opened the nursery door and slipped inside. Oliver was awake. Of course he was. He sat upright in bed, small hands gripping the blanket beneath his chin, grey eyes fixed on the door. Those eyes were the first thing people noticed. Harrowmere eyes, the servants called them, pale, sharp, watchful, too old for a child. "Nell," he whispered, "is Papa dead?" "No, my love." "Is he going to die?" She crossed the room and sat beside him. "Not if he can help it." Oliver frowned. That sounds like him. Despite everything, a painful smile touched her mouth. "Yes, it does." He looked past her toward the corridor. "I heard Duchess Vivienne." Nell went still. "What did you hear?" "She said I have to go north." Nell reached for his hand. "You are not going anywhere tonight. What about tomorrow?" The question broke her because it was so practical. Not will they send me, not can they, just what about tomorrow? Nell smoothed his dark hair back from his forehead. "Tomorrow we become clever." His eyes narrowed. "I am already clever." "Then I shall need your help." That steadied him. "Children who feel powerless will cling to any task that lets them matter." She lowered her voice. "No matter what happens, do not drink anything Duchess Vivienne sends. Do not go with Dr. Bellamy alone. If anyone says your father ordered it, ask to see the order in his handwriting." Oliver swallowed. "Papa is asleep." Nell looked at the door. "Not as deeply as they think." The boy stared at her. Hope appeared so quickly that it frightened her. "Did he wake?" "Do not ask that aloud." Oliver nodded at once. He understood secrets too well. Nell hated that. By dawn, Harrowmere House had filled itself with lies. Duchess Vivienne descended to breakfast wearing soft black and a look of exhausted dignity. Dr. Bellamy announced to the household that His Grace remained unresponsive and required absolute quiet. Mr. Farrow, a legal advisor from York, arrived before noon with a leather case and false sympathy. Two of Vivienne's relations came by luncheon. Her brother, Sir Alaric Vane, broad, handsome, and cruel in the casual way of men who had never been denied enough to learn patience. And her widowed aunt, Lady Merrow, who wore mourning lace and asked within 10 minutes whether the Dower apartments had been recently aired. Nell carried tea into the blue parlour and became furniture. Furniture, she had learned, heard everything. Sir Alaric stood with his back to the fire. "The boy is the difficulty." Vivienne stirred her tea. "The boy is always the difficulty." Mr. Farrow opened his leather case. "If the Duke's incapacity is confirmed by Bellamy, Her Grace can petition for temporary domestic authority. But the heir complicates matters. His interests are legally separate." Lady Merrow sighed. "Poor little thing. So fragile." Nell's hand tightened around the teapot. Sir Alaric glanced toward her. "Leave it." She curtsied, set down the tray, and moved toward the door slowly enough to catch the next sentence. Mr. Farrow said, "If the child can be shown to be emotionally unstable, perhaps unsafe, then removal becomes easier. A frightened display before witnesses would help." Vivienne's voice was smooth. He frightens easily at night. Nell nearly turned. She did not. That evening, the first attempt came. A footman Nell did not recognize arrived at the nursery with a note supposedly from Mrs. Whitcomb, ordering Oliver to the West Gallery. Nell took the note. The handwriting was wrong. Mrs. Whitcomb wrote in heavy square letters. This note sloped like a lyre bowing. "Tell Mrs. Whitcomb I am putting Master Oliver to bed." The footman did not move. Her Grace said he must come. Nell stepped into the doorway. "Then Her Grace may come herself." His face hardened. "You forget you were dismissed." "Not until morning." She closed the door in his face and slid the bolt. Oliver stood behind her, pale. "What is in the West Gallery?" Nell listened to the retreating footsteps. Darkness, echoes, portraits, enough to frighten a child and call it proof. Oliver lifted his chin. "I am not frightened of portraits." "No? Only the one of grandfather. He looks disappointed in everyone." He probably was. That made him smile. Briefly. Enough. At 7, Nell went to the Duke's chamber with fresh linen. Dr. Bellamy was not there. Vivienne was not there. Cassian lay as still as stone. Nell closed the door. She crossed to the bed and began changing the cloth near his pillow with shaking hands. "Your Grace," she whispered, "they mean to frighten him before witnesses." His eyes opened. Only a fraction, but it was enough. Nell nearly dropped the linen. Cassian's voice came out rough, barely air. "Names." She leaned close. "Duchess Vivienne, Dr. Bellamy, Sir Alaric Vane, Mr. Farrow. Lady Merrow knows some, not all." His eyes closed. "Proof." The bottle broke. "I have no proof of that except the stain on the hearthstone. But I heard the parlour conversation. I have the false note sent to the nursery." "Keep it." "I did." A sound outside made her turn. Footsteps. Cassian's hand moved. Fast, weak, urgent. He caught her wrist. "Protect him tonight." Nell looked down at his fingers. Even weakened, his grip carried command. "I will." The door opened. Dr. Bellamy entered. Nell stepped back at once. The doctor looked from her face to the Duke's hand, but Cassian's fingers had already gone limp beneath the blanket. "You are still here," Bellamy said. "Fresh linen, sir." "You seem very devoted to this room." "The housekeeper assigned me." "Did she?" His eyes moved over her like a hand searching pockets. "You should take care. Devotion to the wrong person can ruin a servant." Nell curtsied. "Yes, sir." She left before her knees betrayed her. That night, she did not sleep. She pushed a chest against the nursery door and sat beside it with a candlestick in her hand. Oliver lay awake until nearly midnight. "Do you think Papa is lonely in his room?" he whispered. "Yes." "Can I go see him?" "No." "Because of Duchess Vivienne?" "Yes." He was quiet for a while. Then he said, "I liked her when she first came." Nell's heart ached. "I know. She wore blue and said my drawings were charming. People can wear kind colours without kind hearts." Oliver thought about this. "That is confusing." "Yes." The second attempt came after midnight, not with a note this time, with smoke. Nell smelled it first. Not fire. Candle smoke, thick and deliberate, pushed beneath the nursery door. Oliver began coughing. Nell dragged the chest aside and opened the door to find a smoking bundle of damp straw smouldering in an iron pan just outside. The corridor beyond was empty. Oliver came to her side, terrified. "They want me to run," he whispered. Yes, a screaming child in a smoke-filled corridor. Witnesses. Panic. Instability. Nell picked up the iron pan with the hearth tongs and carried it to the window. Her palms burned through the cloth she wrapped around the handle, but she did not drop it. She threw the bundle out into the courtyard below. Then she knelt before Oliver. "Listen to me. You will walk, not run. We are going to Mrs. Whitcomb's room." "I can walk." "I know." His hands trembled, but he walked. Every step. Down one corridor. Around the stair. Past the portraits. Past Sir Alaric, who appeared at the far end of the hall with 2 servants and a look of poorly hidden disappointment. "There you are," he said. "What happened? The boy looks distressed." Nell held Oliver's hand. There was smoke outside the nursery. "How alarming." "Yes," Nell said, "and very badly placed." His smile faded. Mrs. Whitcomb opened her door before he could answer. The old housekeeper took one look at Oliver, then at Nell, then at Sir Alaric. "Master Oliver sleeps in my room tonight." Sir Alaric's jaw tightened. "I do not think—" "No," Mrs. Whitcomb said. "I imagine you do not." The door closed. By morning, Harrowmere House had split in 2. Those who wanted the boy removed, and those who had begun silently moving around him like walls. Mrs. Whitcomb kept him near the kitchens. Old Briggs sent 2 stable lads to guard the back stairs under the excuse of carrying coal. The cook refused every tray not prepared under her own eye. Nell kept the false note sewn inside her sleeve. And in the master chamber, Cassian listened as Dr. Bellamy told Vivian the Duke's condition had worsened. "He is weaker," Bellamy said. "If we move tomorrow, no one will question urgency." "Then tomorrow," Vivian replied. "Farrow will have witnesses ready. The child must break in front of them." Cassian opened his eyes after they left. His body still ached from the draught he had barely swallowed. His limbs felt heavy, but strength was returning. Enough to stand, perhaps. Enough to speak. Not yet. He needed them all in one room. He needed them to bring their papers. He needed his son's safe, and he needed the maid who had stood between a duchess and a child to survive long enough to tell the truth. At dusk, Nell came again. This time she did not whisper first. She placed the false note, the stained cloth from the broken bottle, and a scrap of charred straw from the corridor beside his hand. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "they mean to hold a household inquiry in the great hall." Cassian's eyes opened fully. "Good." Nell stared at him. The Duke's voice was still weak, but it carried something that had been missing from the house since his collapse. Authority. Let them. The great hall had been arranged like a court. That was Vivienne's mistake. She wanted witnesses. She wanted solemnity. She wanted the servants frightened, the relatives impressed, the child exposed, and the Duke upstairs silent while his household was taken from him piece by piece. So she chose the oldest room in Harrowmere House, the hall with the black beams, the hall with the family banners, the hall where every Duke of Harrowmere had been presented to the tenants since the first Wycliffe built the estate on a hill above the river. By 10 o'clock the room was full. Vivienne sat at the long table in black silk. Sir Alaric stood behind her chair. Dr. Bellamy sat to the left, medical papers stacked before him. Mr. Farrow arranged legal documents with nervous precision. Lady Merrow dabbed at dry eyes. Mrs. Whitcomb stood near the servants' door. Briggs stood beside the fireplace. Nell stood with Oliver by the side arch. The child wore a dark blue coat, brushed clean. His hair had been combed. His face was pale, but he held his shoulders straight, because Nell had told him courage did not mean feeling safe. It meant standing anyway. Vivienne looked at him with a soft, false smile. "Come here, Oliver." The boy did not move. Nell's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Vivienne's smile tightened. "Do not make this difficult." Mr. Farrow cleared his throat. "This inquiry concerns the welfare of Master Oliver Wycliffe during his Grace's unfortunate incapacity." Oliver whispered, "Incapacity means Papa cannot help." Nell lowered her voice. "That is what they think." Sir Alaric looked toward them. The maid should not coach him. Vivian nodded. Miss Arden, step away from the child. Nell stayed where she was. I would prefer not to. A ripple moved through the servants. Vivian's face hardened. You are dismissed from service. Then I am no longer obliged to obey. For one dangerous second, the hall went silent. Oliver looked up at Nell with sudden awe. Mr. Farrow stood. This is improper. Nearly everything about this morning is improper, Briggs said from the fireplace. Vivian shot him a glance. You too? The old steward bowed slightly. Always, Your Grace, but not to you. Dr. Bellamy rose quickly. Let us return to the matter at hand. The child has suffered disturbances, night terrors, emotional attachment to unsuitable servants, panic in corridors, reports of smoke. Because someone put it there, Nell said. Sir Alaric laughed. A servant's imagination. Nell pulled the folded note from her sleeve and placed it on the table. This was sent to the nursery, ordering Master Oliver to the West Gallery. It claimed to be from Mrs. Whitcomb. It was not. Mrs. Whitcomb stepped forward. I wrote no such note. Nell placed the stained cloth beside it. This was used to wipe the hearthstone in His Grace's chamber after the Duchess tried to force me to give Master Oliver a sleeping draught. Gasps moved through the hall. Vivian stood. That is a lie. Nell's voice trembled, but she did not lower it. I begged you not to hurt the child. Vivian's eyes flashed. Now, you insolent little. Oliver stepped forward. She did. Every adult turned toward him. His small face had gone white. But he spoke again. I heard her. I heard Nell say, please, not the child. I heard glass break. I heard Duchess Vivienne say Papa was no longer useful. Vivienne's mask cracked. For the first time, fear showed beneath her beauty. Dr. Bellamy pointed at the boy. You see, distress, confusion. He has been influenced. Oliver flinched. Nell reached for him, but another voice spoke from the stairs above the hall. No, he has been brave. The entire room turned. Cassian Wycliffe, Duke of Harrowmere, stood halfway down the staircase. He wore a dark coat buttoned high, his face pale, his body still weakened, but one hand gripped the banister and his grey eyes were fully open. For several seconds, the room forgot how to breathe. Then Oliver made a sound so small it broke every heart that had one. Papa! Cassian looked at him. My boy. Oliver ran. Nell tried to stop him, afraid the Duke was too weak. But Cassian reached the bottom step in time and went down on one knee. Oliver threw himself into his father's arms. Cassian closed both arms around him and shut his eyes. The hall watched the Duke hold his son as if everything else in the room could burn. You woke, Oliver whispered. Cassian's voice broke. I heard you. You heard? Everything. The word changed the room. Vivian gripped the edge of the table. Sir Alaric stepped back. Dr. Bellamy went still. Cassian rose slowly with one hand on Oliver's shoulder. He looked first at his wife. I heard you call my son inconvenient. Vivian's lips parted. I was distressed. I heard you order Miss Arden to drug him. Dr. Bellamy said quickly, a mild sedative only. I heard you too. The doctor's mouth shut. Cassian looked at Sir Alaric. I heard you discuss frightening him before witnesses. Sir Alaric's face hardened. Careful, Cassian. Illness can disturb memory. Cassian smiled faintly. That is why I asked Briggs to hide 2 witnesses in the East Gallery before dawn. The hall erupted. Briggs stepped forward. So he did. From the shadow of the gallery above, 2 stable lads appeared, along with Mrs. Whitcomb's nephew, who worked as a clerk in the estate office. Sir Alaric went grey. Cassian continued. The smoke outside the nursery, the false note, the petition, the draft, the attempt to prove my son unstable, all recorded, all witnessed, all preserved. Mr. Farrow began gathering his papers. Cassian's voice cut across the hall. "Leave them!" The solicitor froze. "You will not remove one page from this house." Vivienne stood very still. "You deceived me," she said. Cassian looked at her. "I pretended to be unconscious. You revealed yourself while I listened. You made a fool of your wife." "No," he said. "You mistook a child for an obstacle and made yourself one." The words struck hard. Vivienne's face twisted. "Do you know what it is to be second to a dead woman? To live in a house where every servant adored Helena and every hallway belonged to her son?" Cassian's voice softened, but not enough to save her. "I know grief makes poor company. I know I chose wrongly when I thought elegance could replace kindness. But nothing you suffered gave you the right to harm a child. He would have kept everything from me. He is 7. He is the heir. He is my son." The finality of that silenced her. Cassian turned to Briggs. "Dr. Bellamy is dismissed from service and will be reported to the medical board in York. Mr. Farrow will remain until my solicitor arrives. Sir Alaric will leave Harrowmere House before sunset." Sir Alaric laughed harshly. "You cannot order me like a servant." "No," Cassian said. "Servants in this house have earned more respect than you." A murmur moved through the staff. Sir Alaric had no answer. Finally, Cassian looked at Vivienne. "You will remove to the dower house until legal separation is arranged. You will have comfort. You will have income. You will have no authority over my son." Her eyes filled then, not with remorse, with fury at losing. That was when Cassian knew he had made the right choice. By afternoon, Harrowmere House emptied itself of poison. Sir Alaric's carriage left first. Mr. Farrow remained under Briggs's eye, sweating over papers he suddenly found very confusing. Dr. Bellamy departed without farewell. Vivienne left near dusk, veiled, silent, and escorted by Mrs. Whitcomb, who did not pretend sorrow. Only when the dower carriage vanished beyond the trees did Cassian allow himself to sit. His strength failed in the small library. Oliver remained pressed against his side. Nell stood near the door, hands clasped, uncertain whether she still belonged in any room of the house now that the danger had passed. Cassian noticed. "Miss Arden," she curtsied. "Your Grace. Come in." She obeyed slowly. Oliver reached for her hand. That simple gesture said more than any testimony. Cassian looked at it, then at her. "My son trusted you when I failed to protect him. You were not well. I was well enough to listen, not brave enough to wake." Nell did not rush to comfort him. He appreciated that. "You waited to catch them," she said. "I also made him wait." Oliver leaned against him. "I was angry." Cassian looked down. "You had the right to be." "I am still a little angry." "Good." Oliver frowned. "Good? Anger tells us where something hurt. We should listen to it before we ask it to leave." The boy considered this with grave seriousness. "Then I am angry and happy. That seems fair." Nell's eyes filled, though she blinked the tears back quickly. Cassian looked at her again. "Harrowmere House will need a new head of nursery." "I am only a maid." "No," he said. "You are the person who guarded the heir when titles failed him." She looked down. "I love him, Your Grace. I know. I did not do it for position." "That is why you deserve one." By spring, the story had settled into rumour across the county. Some said the Duke had risen from his deathbed like a ghost. Some said the Duchess had been cruel beyond forgiveness. Some said a nursery maid had saved the entire house. Cassian never corrected the last version. Harrowmere changed quietly. The nursery door was never locked from the outside again. Oliver's tutor returned. Mrs. Whitcomb trained Nell in household management because, as she said, any woman who can stare down a duchess can learn linen inventories. Cassian spent more hours with his son than he had in all the year before. At first, Oliver watched him carefully, as if fathers might vanish when unwatched. Then slowly, with the stubborn patience of children who want to forgive but need proof, he began leaving toy soldiers on Cassian's desk again. One morning in April, Cassian found Oliver in the garden with Nell, planting marigolds along the path. "Why marigolds?" he asked. Oliver looked up, soil on his cheek. "Nell says they keep some pests away." Cassian glanced at Nell. She hid a smile. "Useful flowers," she said. Oliver patted the earth around a seedling. "We need useful things here." Cassian crouched beside him. "Yes," he said, "we do." Oliver studied him. "Are you going to pretend again?" "No, even if it helps catch villains." "Even then?" The boy nodded. "Good, I prefer you awake." Cassian's throat tightened. "So do I." Across the garden, Harrowmere House stood in the pale sunlight, with its windows open for the first time in months. A house could survive lies. A child should not have to. Cassian had learned that too late to avoid guilt, but not too late to change. He looked at Nell, then at his son, then at the flowers being pressed carefully into the soil. The Duke had pretended to be unconscious to discover who could be trusted. In the end, the answer had been simple. Trust belonged to the one voice brave enough to beg power not to hurt a child. So tell me, did the Duke wait too long before revealing the truth, or was his silence the only way to expose everyone? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you love dark Regency stories filled with hidden danger, brave maids, and justice for innocent children, subscribe for the next story.